The 1960s in America.
It was an age of change, of music, protest, and dreams.
Young people filled the streets with hope, fighting for civil rights and peace in Vietnam. But in Northern California, as the counterculture thrived, another figure emerged, a shadow in the golden light of the West Coast.
He didn't come to march. He didn't come to sing. He came to kill. And he wanted everyone to know his name, or at least the name he gave himself.
The Zodiac.
It began on a warm summer night, July 4th, 1969, near the shores of Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, California.
22-year-old Darlene Ferrin was out with a friend,
19-year-old Michael Maggio.
They parked under the dark canopy of night.
The muffled sound of distant fireworks popping in the air. Michael noticed a car pull up behind them,
headlights flooding the interior for a moment before switching off.
The driver sat there, motionless, and then the car drove away.
Relief?
Maybe, but minutes later, the same car returned, stopping just behind them. This time, the driver got out.
He approached the passenger side,
shining a blinding flashlight into their eyes before firing into the car, over and over.
Bullets tore through the summer night.
Michael slumped in agony, while Darlene's body was riddled with rounds.
The man turned to leave,
then came back, firing 2 more shots into each victim. Darlene would die that night. Michael, barely clinging to life, would survive, and with him a description. The shooter was a man in his late 20s to early 30s, stocky, with light-colored hair and a round face. But that would hardly narrow things down.
A few weeks later, 3 newspapers, the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle,
and the San Francisco Examiner, each received an identical letter. The writer claimed responsibility for the Blue Rock Springs
shooting and another murder that had occurred months earlier, the brutal stabbing of Betty Lou Denson and David Faraday on Lake Herman Road. But these letters weren't just confessions. They came with a code,
a strange cryptic cipher of symbols, circles, and triangles. The writer demanded the letters be printed on the front page of each paper,
or, he warned, he would spend his weekends hunting humans.
It was the first time the public heard the name he gave himself. This is the Zodiac speaking.
Days later, a schoolteacher and his wife cracked the first 48-character cipher.
Inside was no hidden identity, just a chilling manifesto.
The killer spoke of his pleasure in killing, comparing it to hunting animals.
Man is the most dangerous animal of all, he wrote. In the months that followed, Zodiac struck again and again. September 27, 1969, Lake Berryessa. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard
were picnicking by the water when a man approached wearing a bizarre
executioner-style hood with clip-on sunglasses. His chest bore a white crosshair symbol, the now infamous Zodiac logo.
He carried a gun and long lengths of rope. He claimed he was an escaped convict from a Montana prison who needed their car and money.
He spoke calmly, almost politely, as he tied their hands.
Then, without warning,
he pulled a foot-long knife and began stabbing them over and over.
Brian was stabbed 6 times.
Cecilia, 10.
The killer then walked away, leaving them to bleed.
Cecilia would die 2 days later.
Brian survived and would give police
one of the most chilling eyewitness accounts in true crime history.
Before leaving the area entirely,
Zodiac took the time to write on the door of Brian's car in black
marker the dates of his previous murders,
the location, and his signature crosshair symbol.
Less than 2 weeks later, on October 11, 1969,
San Francisco cab driver Paul Stein picked up a fare in the Theater District. His passenger asked to go to an upscale neighborhood called Presidio Heights.
When they arrived, the man shot Stein in the head, calmly wiped the cab down for prints,
and tore away a piece of the driver's shirt.
Then he simply walked away right into the night.
3 teenagers saw the attack and called police.
Officers even spotted a man walking nearby who matched the suspect description.
But due to a radio miscommunication,
describing the killer as a
black male instead of white, the man was let go. That man may very well have been the Zodiac himself. The next day, the Chronicle
received another letter from the killer,
this time with a piece of Stein's bloody shirt. Proof beyond doubt that the letter writer and the killer were the same. Over the next year, Zodiac's letters became more frequent and more taunting. He threatened school buses full of children.
He sent more ciphers, some still unsolved to this day.
He inserted himself into newspaper coverage,
mocking the police for failing to catch him.
"I am uncrackable," he boasted in one letter. The media frenzy grew, and with it, the fear.
Couples avoided lovers' lanes. Parents drove their kids to school. Ordinary Californians began looking twice at their neighbors, wondering if they could be the infamous masked killer. But then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, the Zodiac seemed to fade. Letters trickled off.
Sightings stopped.
By 1974,
he sent what many consider his final confirmed letter praising the film. The Exorcist as the best satirical comedy I have ever seen, and signing off with his crosshair symbol. Who was he? Over the decades, hundreds of suspects have been investigated.
Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester who lived near several crime scenes,
Was the prime suspect for years, but DNA evidence later cast doubt. Other names, from petty criminals to respected community members, have surfaced. Theories abound. A lone maniac, a team of killers, even a police officer. In 2020, one of his ciphers, the so-called
340 cipher,
was finally solved by a team of amateur codebreakers. It revealed no name, just another cryptic rant about enjoying killing. The Zodiac Killer remains unidentified, his face still hidden behind that dark hood and cold smile. His crimes have inspired films, books, songs, and endless debates. In pop culture, he's become almost myth, but for the families of his victims,
the nightmare is all too real, and perhaps that's the final cruelty of the Zodiac. Not just the lives he stole,
but the way he has haunted the living, decade after decade. His identity forever locked away in a puzzle no one has yet solved. Thank you for watching Crimes Through Time. If this story chilled you, hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's darkest mysteries, and tell us in the comments, do you believe the Zodiac's identity will ever be revealed?
Or will his name remain hidden in the shadows of California's past?
We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay safe,